Hello, welcome back here in the Cadence Weather Center. Right now, today is July 15, 2025. We're going to be continuing to pay attention here to Invest 93L that is off the east coast of Florida here. And we'll be moving across the state as we head out throughout today. And early tomorrow, we will be seeing it start to emerge off the coast of Florida. Louisiana, you could be possibly getting something. We're going to talk about that. We're going to go more in depth with the models and the rainfall potential here for Florida, and then possibly even more of the northern Gulf Coast. So let's jump right into it. We can clearly see right now here on the satellite picture that there is a lot of convection rainfall that is continuing to kind of blow up over here over the east part of Florida here. And we kind of can see that here in the Daytona Beach, Orlando region. That's some pretty big heavy rainfall that is continuing. That will eventually make its way over here into the central Florida and then the west coast of Florida here. And then we're going to be having a lot of rain possibly still in this general region today as we go throughout the rest of the day. So we'll obviously have to jump into some of these models to exactly take a look at that. So that's kind of what we're going to look at. But we're currently right now by the National Hurricane Center as of the 8 a.m. advisory. We can clearly see 40% chance here for the next 48 hours and the next 7 days here. Possibly tropical depression could form here pretty soon, maybe. It all depends honestly on how close this storm stays to the Gulf Coast and how much time it possibly could have. So we might not get a tropical storm. We might just get a tropical storm. Big question still on the table, but models starting to really hint out in this general area right here for a potential tropical system landfall. And you can clearly see there's your 5-day development area kind of hanging out right in general in the northern Gulf here. We're currently seeing that. It's going to be moving off of the west coast of Florida probably early tomorrow. And then really you have New Orleans to the Florida Panhandle that is really possibly looking out for that tropical system. Taking a look here at the Invest 93 models, we can clearly see not as much spread as there was yesterday, but you can see in the next 24 hours, we are expecting this storm once again to be into the Gulf. And we're going to be seeing that, the storm is going to be moving pretty quickly here as we have a high pressure off to its east that's going to be continuing to push it off to the west. Then we're going to see a little bit more of a dip to the south and then expected to possibly go into Louisiana. And that's where majority of these models are taking it here. So that's going to cause a lot of heavy rainfall problems here, no matter if it forms or not. And you kind of can see here with the intensity forecast, some models bring it up into the tropical storm phase here around the 156 168 hours out, but really majority of the main operational runs are keeping it down here just at a tropical depression, not even reaching that name status yet. Right now there is an aircraft taking off from the Tampa Bay area. I believe this is Lakeland here. Taking off right now is getting a little bit of information here in the Gulf, and also will be investigating the system as well later today. So keep an eye on that here. You can find that on Tropical Tidbits, the updates, and the National Hurricane Center as well for your local updates. But let's take a look here at the GFS model. Let's take a look at the GFS model run. We can clearly see this is the 6Z. Low pressure sitting right off the coast here of Florida, the Florida Peninsula. Heavy rainfall expected to continue throughout today in this general region. We're going to see that, and then we're going to eventually make this storm. The storm will continue to move off over here. GFS not having it very organized. You can just see a lot of heavy rainfall that could be brought to Louisiana here on July 17th around 2 a.m. time, and just kind of hang out for a little bit as that continues to kind of just ramp up that flooding potential. But no exact tropical system is expected to form there, according to the GFS. Taking a look at the winds, you could see not too much wind is also expected here. Maybe some, strong winds kind of on the eastern side of the storm, maybe reaching 30, 35 mile an hour, but nothing too severe to be really paying attention to any major wind problems from this storm. I think this is going to be more of a rainy problem and more of a flash flooding problem as well. The Euro kind of saying a little bit of a different scenario here. We can see the Euro kind of keeping it onto a little bit more of the northern part of Florida. Still once again with the GFS and the Euro agreeing with majority of the Florida Peninsula, still getting a lot of that rainfall today and heading into tomorrow to finish it up. And then a lot more disorganized really from the Euro, except for when it comes to around July 18th, has a big area here that could be causing some rainfall potential, reaching several inches of rain just from western Georgia all the way here into central Louisiana as well. Then you take a look here at the Euro wind speeds. We can clearly see with the Euro winds, we can clearly see, over here Today at 11 a.m., we could clearly see in the next 9 hours there is some wind that is on the eastern side of the storm. So the Euro is completely different than the GFS that makes its way, and then it starts to agree with the GFS, no strong winds heading into the northern Gulf. And the reason for that is because the Euro taking it a lot more up to the north here, that's going to give it less time to develop into a tropical system because it's too close to land to get enough of energy that it needs. So that's why we might not even see a tropical storm out of this storm. Now, the Icon model has been really aggressive with this storm over the last couple of days, but has started to calm down as we head throughout this morning. Kind of keeping it through north central Florida there, we can clearly see is going to continue to move. Obviously there's that center right there, July 17th, that will eventually make its way into the Louisiana region here, according to the Icon. Will spin its way in, bringing heaviest amounts of rainfall to the western part of Louisiana, but you can see a possible tropical depression there really starting to just form with that. And we're kind of going to just see and watch that the potentials to continue on as it continues to move up here into the Louisiana region. Not as aggressive as it was yesterday. The winds, we could clearly see maybe some winds could form here. You could see a little bit more aggressive on the winds than the Euro and the GFS. Bringing that green right here could possibly reach into maybe some 35, 40 mile an hour winds there. And we'll have to keep an eye on that, but mostly gust with that one. And then it will eventually make its way more inland, and that's when the winds will start to calm down. Taking a look at the flooding potential, random areas here out of the United States has that flooding potential, but obviously our main area is down here in the Florida Peninsula as we have Invest 93L continuing on right now. Slight risk continues on from the northern part of Florida, really just the central part of Florida that does include Orlando and Tampa. You guys are in that slight weather risk for today, or for the rainfall, and the marginal risk. Once again, Tampa, you're still in that, but as well, now we're starting to see the East Coast starting to clear up here. We're going to start seeing the northern Gulf Coast here starting to get into that marginal region there. So that's going to be something to pay attention to as we go through that. Thursday, we can see that slight risk for flash flooding continues here in the Louisiana region. We're going to see that, start to ramp up as we go on throughout those days. The marginal risk still for the west coast of Florida, as we could have some scattered showers continuing on during that time. Then when you head over here into Friday and Saturday, moderate risk here for the Louisiana coast. That could cause a lot of flash flooding potential. So really, we could be seeing a lot of flash flooding here in the next coming of days, due to Invest 93L. Regardless if it develops, we're still going to be seeing a lot of heavy rainfall. So kind of looking here at the GFS, the model run, what can we see here with the rainfall potential here? Well, you can see all the way to July 31st, we're going to be seeing a lot of that heaviest rainfall kind of hanging out in the eastern part of Louisiana into Alabama as well. Not bringing up too much here in the Florida Peninsula, not too much, but possibly maybe another 4 to 5 inches in some areas with localized heavier rain possible there. The European rainfall totals are a little different, a lot less here in the Florida Peninsula here, only bringing about 2 inches of rain left for some areas, but still, kind of agreeing with the GFS here on New Orleans and, the eastern part of Louisiana getting maybe to 5 to 6 inches of rain. Then you take a look here at the Icon model. You can see the Icon model really bringing some very heavy rain off the coast here of the Louisiana region here. That could possibly reach up into maybe a foot of rain in some of those areas, and that's kind of why we have that moderate flash flooding risk for that day, as we know that the storm will most likely just be more of a rainmaker and not a tropical storm. It could have that tropical storm name, it could be a tropical storm, but it won't have that big wind threat as other storms do. This is mostly going to be a flash flooding problem. So we're continuing to pay attention here to the tropics, obviously. Make sure to follow my X page down in the description for the latest information. I hope you guys all had a great time watching this video and giving you guys the latest information. Make sure if you do live in Florida or if you live in Louisiana, anywhere, please make sure you're following your local National Weather Service here for the latest information on your guys' weather. Obviously, if you're getting rainfall, your warnings, watches, we know that you need to keep an eye on that just in case if anything could happen, especially as we've already seen some localized flooding here in the Florida Peninsula. Make sure you are staying tuned to the National Weather Service, as well as checking in on the National Hurricane Center as well to get updates here on Invest 93L. If you live in the Gulf Coast or even in Florida, make sure you are staying tuned and you are keeping an eye on the tropics here, as hurricane season is still underway and we still have a long way to go. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Stay safe and bye-bye.